With this, we are moving to our next session, which is about PRI-CBO collaboration to achieve LSDGs. For that, I would like to invite on stage Professor Ramesh Chandji, member Niti Aayog, Ms. Usha Rani, lead IBCB, SI and Social Development and HR in DAY NRLM, Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, Mr. Sajid Sukumaran, Chief Operating Officer, Kudum Shri, Mr. Libby Johnson, Executive Director, Gram Vikas, Mr. Saroj Kumar Das. Mr. Das is an ex-additional director, SIRD and Panchayati Raj. Before starting the discussion, I would like to take some time to introduce to our speakers. So, starting with Ramesh Chand sir, he's a member in Niti Aayog, and he in the rank and status of a Union Minister of State. He has a PhD in agriculture economics. His work has been in policy formulation for the agriculture sector for the past 2.5 decades. Prior to his joining Niti Aayog, he was director in National Institute of Agriculture Economics and Policy Research. Sir was supposed to join in tomorrow's session, but due to some pre-engagement, he agreed to come and join this panel discussion. For that, we really thank you, sir. Ms. Usha Rani has over 3 decades of experience in conceptualizing and implementing large-scale community-based development programs focusing on institution and human capacity building, microfinance, livelihoods, and other related verticals. Ma'am has been instrumental in policy advocacy, capacity building, and networking initiative of self-help movement in India. Mr. Sukumaran has more than 25 years of experience in the social development sector. He had worked with the government of Kerala as coordinator of its e-governance project, which computerized the local governments in Kerala after the state did a massive decentralization starting in 1997. Since 2017, he has been leading Kudum Shri's program across India in its capacity as a national resource organization for the National Rural Livelihood Mission. Mr. Johnson has led large-scale impactful poverty eradication efforts in his nearly 3 decades of social development work with non-profits and governments in India. Mr. Johnson has been instrumental in setting up a national resource organization for the government of Kerala to adopt experiences and lessons from Kerala to other states under the National Rural Livelihood Mission of the Government of India. Mr. Das is a keen planner with expertise in project appraisal, monitoring, and evaluation of program. He works with international agencies, namely UNDP, UNICEF, UN Women, UNFPA, and various departments of ministry and state union government level. With this, and also last but not the least, the moderator of this panel is Mr. Anup Nautiyal. He is the founder of the Social Development for Communities Foundation. And briefing about Anup is a social worker and a community leader in Uttarakhand who founded SDG Foundation, a Dehradun-based not-for-profit engaged in climate and environmental conservation, sustainable urbanization, and solid and plastic waste management. Anup has vast experience of working in the development, government, and corporate sector. With this, I would like to invite Anup on the podium and
Thank you very much, Shikha, and we've had a full day today, of course, as we all know. So this particular fourth session today is on the subject of PRI-CBO convergence, and I'm of course, humbled to be asked by Pradhan to be moderating this session. Before I welcome our esteemed panelists here, I would like to as a part of my own research, for this session, I was looking at the 2023 UN report of Sustainable Development Goals, and I found some very, very powerful and very sobering words which are attributed to Mr. Antonio Guterres, who's the 9th Secretary General of the United Nations. So I just thought and I felt that in fact, in the overall scheme of things, where he says that halfway to the deadline of the 2030 agenda, the SDG Progress Report Special Edition shows we are leaving more than half the world behind. Progress, of course, this is global, this is not for India, but progress on more than 50% of targets of the SDGs is weak and insufficient. On 30%, it has stalled or gone into reverse. These include key targets on poverty, hunger, and climate. Unless we act now, the 2030 agenda, and these are, this really hit me, the 2030 agenda could become an epitaph for a world that might have been. So, as I said, I just felt that it could be perhaps, good to start with this. So, sir and ma'am, I would like to gently bring to your notice that we have 1 hour on the higher side. If we can finish earlier, we'll try and do that. It's not necessary that we have to be here for 60 minutes. First, we were thinking that, we'll do maybe 2 questions, but maybe we can tweak a little bit. Let's leave it at 1 question each with a ballpark limit of 6 to 7 minutes for each of your answers. I have a young colleague here, Monica, who's helping with the, Mohini, who's helping with the time management, and she will just show you a small, like a card or something. So as Shikha mentioned, sir, very happy. I'm speaking to Professor Ramesh Chand, sir, that आपने कल आना था, लेकिन आप आज आए, उसके लिए आपका आभार. Sir, I would like to actually start with you. In fact, ask you 2 questions in 1 question itself. And the first question is more of a macro question. It goes, I think, more than the subject of PRI and CBO. And the larger question is that since you're a member at Niti Aayog, how does Niti Aayog look at the entire subject of localization of SDGs, which is what is the largest subject of this 4th Samagam of Pradhan and the Axis Bank Foundation? So that is question number 1. And number 2, which is more relevant to the PRI-CBO convergence, given your own background as a distinguished agriculturist, given your vast experience in that field, how can the PRI-CBO convergence help to facilitate increase in incomes in the farm sector, sir? So these are, as I said, 2 questions rolled into 1 for you, sir.
Thank you, Nautyalji. You see, if you look at SDGs, there are 2 dimensions of SDG. One is that each country needs to create sort of macro environment, need to provide some sort of resources, prepare a framework for achieving these SDGs. So as far as these things are concerned, the responsibility rests with the union government, with whatever organization they designate, like now they have designated Niti Aayog. So that is one part of SDG. Second is that making use of that policy, making use of resources, making use of whatever scheme or mechanism is created, we need to act on ground. Because SDG targets are not seeking what is your fiscal deficit. They are looking at how many people are hungry there. So when you look at the indicator or measurement of SDG, it goes to ground level. Any kind of thing, be it hunger, be it health, be it equality, everywhere you just find that it goes to the household level, it goes to ground level, it goes to say sea, water bodies, which are all at ground level. So as in some cases we say think globally, act locally. So in this particular case also, that you think at macro level, but act at disaggregate level, which is village level, town level, mohalla level, work, undertaking work there. In fact, when these SDGs started, I participated in some meeting in UN also. I have been participating mainly in terms of food-related activity, but sometimes even for SDG also they consult me. I was of the view that even the choice of indicator should not be decided at the level of UN. It should be left to the concerned country, what kind of indicator they choose. Even in Ethiopia, initially, I developed indicators which were different than what were the indicators given by UN body, for the simple reason that you gave those indicators at international level, keeping some common parameter in mind. But when you come down at country level, there are country specificity, there are country circumstances, which require that if you develop some indicator which is around the goal, 16, 17 goals, but which is specific to that country. So that was the intention, but it didn't happen. So everybody's, all countries are required to report their progress on whatever parameter is given to them by the UN body. Like other day, where I met Pradhan representative in a discussion on SDG. I was not scheduled to participate in this conference. I came unplanned. So it was there only that she requested me to please come 2 days back. So this is how, out of the respect I'm having for work of Pradhan, that I just came, even though it was unplanned for me. That different studies using a particular parameter arriving at conclusion. For example, in Kerala, 30% people are hungry, or in UP, 50% people are hungry. That is the concept which has come from somewhere. What is perception of people of hunger? See, it's very different that you are using some nutrition-related indicator, which is not linked to cultural factor and other kind of factors, because of which you find a lot of confusion happened. That confusion relates to so many things. It also relates to India's food transition, dietary transition, that what happened in rest of the world that is not happening in India. Rest of the world, you just find that when food production improve, per capita income improve, per capita intake of cereal also increased. But in India it is not increasing. Either it is stagnant or it is declining. But you don't find any explanation in nutrition study, etc., etc. I could find some explanation in work of one French anthropologist, Frederick Lendy, who explained it in terms of culture of India and why in India the food transition is different than the kind of transition which is witnessed by almost all other countries. So I was just mentioning these points that if country are different reason according to their cultural context, according to their specificity, was allowed to tweak a little bit, we could then better capture our failure and our success. Coming to this farm sector, this PRI and CBO means community-based organization.
Yes.
Eh? Community-based organization. You see, PRI situation in our country also varies a lot. PRI in South working in different way than in North. A lot of variation we are just observing. But over time, the role of public, this Panchayati Raj institution, initially when I was a child, the loudspeaker will be operated from the house of Pradhan, mentioning about what kind of announcement relate to agriculture. But over time, at least in North India, I just observed, panchayats have no interest in agriculture. Panchayats are getting more engaged in terms of what money comes and how they spend. They take most of the interest in those kind of things. That doesn't mean that everywhere panchayats are like this. There is a lot of variation, but I want to say that over time, if you look at the way panchayats have evolved, especially after that 73rd Amendment, the way panchayats have evolved, village society totally now divided on political line, factionalism, and so many things. And collective welfare of village by panchayat has become a victim to those kind of things. So we need to do something if we can, that panchayat take more interest in agriculture, more interest in farming, which is the principal activity, which is India as a whole. 1/3 of economic activity in rural India is still agriculture. 1/3 of rural income still come from agriculture. 2/3 come from non-agriculture. So because of that, because agriculture still remain dominant activity in rural India, and in terms of employment, it is not 1/3, it is more than 60%. We need some kind of organization. So I feel that that is why that since role of panchayat got diluted, community-based organization emerged to occupy that space. I feel that if panchayat were playing that role, there was no need for community-based organizations. So since these organizations have emerged to occupy that space, I do not find strong reasons necessarily for them to collaborate. Nor do I feel that if they do not collaborate, the success of program will not happen, since community-based organizations are target-driven. They work for a particular purpose. If it is an NGO, it takes resources for a particular purpose, and then they follow that kind of resources. And mandate of panchayat now reduced to economic development and social justice, but very little interest with panchayat for economic development. It is interest in development that involve resources, making village road, drainage, some other building. Most of their interest now goes in those kind of things. Very little in doing things for agriculture.
All right, sir. In fact, sir, just to, because we couldn't, of course, share the entire context of, this, of Samagam 2023. So as far as Pradhan is concerned, the whole focus is on strengthening the triumvirate of Sarkar, Samaj and Bazar. And that is what, has been, the discussion during the entire day. And even in earlier Samagams, that how can, different institutions from the government, from civil society, from the corporate sector collaborate. So in that sense, sir, CBOs have an extremely crucial, critical role to play when it comes to, let's say, the strengthening of the PRI sector itself. So that is one takeaway, sir. The other thing that, at least listening to you, the sense that I got is that, of course, as you mentioned factually also, that even though today this PRI-CBO space is not so much dominated by the agricultural discourse or by agricultural activities, but therein lies an opportunity. So since it is lacking, there is an opportunity for this particular space to evolve and develop over a period of time. Sir, before we proceed any further, I just wanted to ask you, do you need to leave at 4:30, or we'll be very happy if you could be here for... Wonderful, sir, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and Mr. Das, before I come to you, I'll ask ma'am a question and then we'll come to you. Ma'am, given your very, very long experience, आपका एक इतना लंबा अनुभव है, how do you see the immense power of women's collectives and women-friendly panchayats? हम women-friendly panchayats की बहुत बात करते हैं PRI-CBO space में. What results have you seen, and what more, of course, since we all want to progress and do more, आपको क्या लगता है कि हम और ज़्यादा क्या इस क्षेत्र में हो सकता है?
I would like to thank Pradhan for inviting me for this Samagam. Regarding this question, actually, how I am actually seeing is both the organizations, that is the PRIs, and when I am talking about the CBOs, as my experience is more related to the SDGs and their federations, so I am confining to that. So if you see both the SDGs and its federations and PRIs, they share common vision and also goals. So the PRIs basically they focus on the economic development and also the social justice and also upliftment, and also it is trying to actually facilitate decentralized governance and also decision making process and other things. And if you see the SDGs also, by the major role, and in the recent past if you see, they are also actually focusing on the poverty alleviation, and also they are focusing on enhancing the quality of life of the poor people. And by design itself, there are some elements in the SDGs and its federations, especially on the decentralized governance, decision making process, so, and also transparency and accountability. So in DNRLM, actually, after realizing the potential of the PRIs and also the SDG federations, ma'am was there during that time, Sharda ma'am. In 2013, after taking the experiences from Kutumbashri, with the support of Kutumbashri, we have actually started some of the pilots. So those pilots have given a lot of experiences. I will come to little later. If you see these 9 themes in the LSGDs, today, because earlier, before 2000, the role of SDGs were more into the microfinance. Currently, the role has changed. So out of these 9 themes, in fact, SDGs can play a very important role on 7 themes. Directly, that is what I am actually able to see. And field level also, those are the learnings that are coming up. So currently in the DNRLM, we are actually adapting 2 approaches for nurturing this PRI-CBO convergence and the collaboration. One is a kind of a very intensive kind of an approach. So in that we call it as intensive PRI-CBO convergence approach. The second one is the extensive approach, where in 2015, Government of India mandated participation of SDGs in the GPDP. That we call it as extensive approach. So in the intensive approach from 2013 onwards, with the support of Kutumbashri, we have actually piloted PRI-CBO convergence pilots across the country. In 15 states we have conducted, and around 72 districts and 145 blocks we have done. And in these, actually the major focus was actually creating the awareness among the CBOs on the roles and responsibilities of the PRIs, and how the women SDGs can participate in the Gram Sabhas, and also how they can access their rights and entitlements. And there are no external studies actually done for this intensive approach, but Kutumbashri has done an internal study in some of the states that has given a very clear findings. There is a increased Gram Sabha participation of the women. In some states, it was increased up to 90%, but on an average, if you can see, 60 to 70%. And in very recently, like with the MOPR in the meeting, when Vijayanand sir came also, it was also showing there is an increase. And the second thing what we have actually very clearly observed was, earlier in the GPDP process, the majority of the plans are related to infrastructure. But after involvement of the SDGs, what happened was the plans, there is a change, more focus on the livelihoods, and also in the recent past, we have included the social development also. So that is where, in fact, these findings are coming out very clearly. And if you see in some of the states, especially like as this study is 2 states, from that 2 states, 200 leaders who locally we have developed, they have actually become members of the panchayats also. So that way political empowerment is also happening through this process. So through the extensive approach, and in the recent past, last 4 or 5 years, we are closely working with MOPR, and now MOPR is also very much convinced, and both Ministry, MORD and MOPR, we are continuously working, and we are trying to actually like develop a continuous system where the SDGs can participate. That is where from this year onwards, we are universalizing PRI-CBO convergence across the country in, I think, in 3 phases over a period of 5 to 6 years. So we will be able to do. So this is one aspect. The second aspect, what we are trying to do as part of strengthening of these SDGs, we are actually focusing on the gender aspects and also on the health and nutrition related aspects. In the gender, actually, like we are developing an institutional mechanisms where Panchayat Raj PRIs and also the SDG federations at the VO level, they are coming together working on various gender related issues and also on the women related issues. So what I see, there are challenges. It will take long time, but it is possible. So with that hope, I think 5, 6 years, we can see that kind of a change in the country.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. So we have only, in fact, 7 years left before 2030 comes. Mr. Das, my question to you is that, since you have such a long experience, how do you, in your own experience, in your very, very long experience, how do you see the ministries of Panchayati Raj, rural development, ma'am also mentioned those departments, even women and child development. How do you look at all these ministries working in the PRI-CBO domain? In fact, also positives, and of course where there are challenges, I'm sure there are many challenges as well. So if you can just throw light on what changes, what key trends, what strengths, what lacunas, what problems have you witnessed? So I think, that is what we would like to know from you.
Thank you. It's a really great pleasure to be part of this great learning event. And I unlearn myself to learn many things. So also with you all. 2 things, the question of voice and choice. And the Pradhan Samagam, Sarkar, Bajar and Samaj. ये 2 choice voice ना, ये तीनों में ही है. ये तीनों में ये choice voice जो है ना, इसको हम देखना पड़ेगा. I am told we have 6-7 years to go. But I will take a cue from the keynote speaker's address. We have to be impatient and have a sense of urgency. That's the one of the keynote address. Hopefully Durvisa ma'am made an observation. And second keynote address, 3 A's. Availability, accessibility and affordability. This is also why I tell all these things, because I have a point to make PRI-CBO, how it is important and how the ministry, both 3 ministries are really doing the women's job, wonderful job. And the one more cue I'll take from one more statement, engendering the development will be possible through women-friendly GP and more importantly through the PRI-CBO convergence. So this convergence is really a platform where both the voice and choice can be given to voiceless as well as choiceless through your participatory planning or through the community engagement. And interestingly, we are 120 22 ranked among the 163 countries. We have a score of 63.45 out of 100, and we need to be much more aggressive. Yes, aggressive is our brand word. We are going in a big way. So also the ministry. Here the question is that with the 14th Finance Commission, I was strongly, very passionately engaged with all the very big people sitting over here with whom I feel privileged to work. The 14th Finance Commission grant was something wonderful thing which really strengthened the Panchayat Raj institution, more than even the 73rd Constitutional Amendment. This is my submission. 73rd Constitutional Amendment gave a statutory recognition, but the real power given by the 4th Finance Commission grant, either through the state government or of the union government. So here with this Finance Commission grant, we had a wonderful space given to the Panchayat at least to think on this. Yes, it's an implementing agency. They have more powers, statutory functions, functions mandatory as well as optional. They were more to the implementing functions. So question here is that once the GPDP started with the Finance Commission grant and with the MORD anchored VPRP, Village Poverty Reduction Plan, later on it is Village Prosperity Resilience Plan, and it has 4 components. If you look into, because it's a quite enlightened crowd, you Google it, because 4 to 5 minutes, 6 minutes time may not give me enough to really make you immersed into this convergence process. But you look into these 4 components and look into the various steps of preparing, and I'll not say comprehensive holistic GPDP, rather I will put it that smartly captured GPDP, looking into the local conditions with the 9 thematic areas of SDG. I hope both the ministry has done a wonderful job, starting with Finance Commission grant anchored by the Ministry of Panchayat Raj, then the day NRLM of the Ministry of RD, then the Mission Shakti also came into the, the Ministry of Women CD, they came into the scene. If you look into the real thrust, it was since 2021 with the LSDG report. And after that, the thematic GPDP, and moreover the line itself was more, the train itself, the journey was made possible more faster because of People's Plan campaign. Yes, it has many challenges. Yes, it has, the BPRP has many challenges. Yes, GPRP. But all these challenges are inherent, and the Government of India, Ministry of Panchayat Raj, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Women CD, they have very strategically rolled out the capacity building plans. RGSI is one of the wonderful 880 crores project, and the report itself, we have also a minimum, if you just pull in the fund, you will getting around 10,000 crores as CB fund. So we need to build up the capacity. Wonderful. And all are going in that direction, whether it is corporate or the civil society or the government. But one good thing, since you have made it in point, what will be the takeaway? What could be the policy input even for the government as well as the corporate as well as for the NGO, civil society? I look that PRI-CBO can be really make some impact, and our takeaway for this workshop may be for future things. As regards to takeaway, I'll tell you because of healthy PRI-CBO relationship, which is evidently seen in the GPDP portal or even in your DNRLM, the respective portal. So more livelihood focus is to be there, because livelihood is very key to empowering the things. Yeah, time up, I know that. I'll just end with 30 seconds. So this GPDP or BPRP should have been livelihood focus, and especially adopting to the sustainable climate smart agriculture. That's my point. Sustainable climate smart agriculture, and moreover this convergence can more better happen at the drinking water and sanitation for poor. These are also goals, and also the decent work for everyone. So this is all about. I would like
Thank
to
you, Mr. Das. I have a very brief question to ask you, because we also have 2 more panelists. Fine. you have outlined a series of steps that, different ministries are taking. There's so much money on the table. But still, for a layman like me, I wonder, why are we 112 out of 162? So can you tell me, enlighten me and maybe others, what really, one or two, just one in 1 minute, where really is the big lacuna?
Yeah, fine. If you look into this, I hope she made a point in one of her, you meditate, so the goals where we are really making impact and where we are really, if you look into the doing good goals, so we are wonderful in goal number 1, no poverty, and goal number 12.
Sorry, no, I'm not, about individual, but the big picture. Why are we 112 out of 162? Given your long experience, just in 1 minute, what comes naturally to you?
If you look into the diversity of the entire country, look into the complexities across the country with 1.4 billion people with so much diversities, this is very natural. And moreover, if you look into Kerala and other side, another state in northeast or somewhere in our eastern part of the country, the question is that the very diverse culture and the work culture and ethos, and moreover the very typical ecosystem we have, that is somehow not very encouraging. But all said and done, I see the information, the ecosystem created out of knowledge management of all these critical stakeholders, especially the government and the corporate as well as the civil society organization, is really adding very good health to the maybe another 1 or 2 years will be much more better, and we will be having more smile on faces, like also giving smiles to these voiceless and choiceless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Das. So you mentioned about Kerala. We have 2 more panelists with a lot of experience. I would like to come to you, Sajid. And, again, what impacts have you seen, with this PRI-CBO convergence? Since I'm given to understand that, you've worked a lot in the area of poverty eradication, you worked in disaster management, livelihoods, and in these different sort of domains where you've been involved. So what really ground impacts, have you seen yourself? And apart from that, if you can share with us some actual concrete examples, some best practices, some best models, some success stories, so that'll, I guess that'll help all of us.
Okay. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. See, so far we have supported NRLM in implementing this PRI-CBO convergence pilots in 15 states. Of course, the experiences have been really rich and interesting. At the same time, extremely diverse. You are talking, if you look at areas, states with PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, they are themselves very different. Some states like Karnataka are very, have gone much ahead of others. There are some states which are lagging behind. Similarly, if you take PESA areas, Scheduled 6 areas, areas covered by state tax, like in Manipur. So the experiences across have been very different. And within those, I would say, it has been really enriching because, see, we are talking about women sitting and planning. Ushama already said there is a difference. The way women would look at things, they won't prepare a wish list. They will make plans. They will make real plans when they sit in an SHG, because they know there is a limited resource envelope available to them. So within the scope of that, when they make plans, as Professor Isaac asked in the morning, how do they prioritize? How do they decide what they need from the panchayat? What are they going to demand? So there we have some extremely interesting experiences, moderns, as you asked for, which when started or while we were supporting, we never thought they were anything to do with localizing SDGs. But in hindsight now I can say, okay, we are talking about probably that. When we start women demanding membership in an Anganwadi level monitoring and support committee in a village, it means a lot of things. And when women start engaging with that as members or ensuring that the committee is meeting and the program is delivered better, that is probably beginning of something which we have seen in UP. We have seen that in Arunachal Pradesh happening to PRI-CBO convergence. Similarly, something very unexpected in a village in Bishwanath district in Assam, a village called Gameri, where a village organization with no resources, absolutely no resources, tried to replicate a Kerala model of a bud school for the mentally challenged children. And it's a village organization that's running it. It was something which the women planned and developed in collaboration with the panchayat. Probably it could be one small big step towards a day when we have 7,200 Anganwadis for mentally challenged children across India. Mm-hmm. Today we have none. So there are things which are probably small big steps that women are taking in collaboration with panchayats. And you mentioned about incomes and agriculture. See, in Bihar, also in UP, through planning and in convergence with panchayats, women have got land from the panchayat, allotted from the panchayat, and started weekly markets there. They're selling their products there. But will they sustain? Will these weekly markets sustain? Will they be able to continue with that and continue earning something from that? Mm-hmm. Is something which we will have to see, the sustenance of it. When I talk about the diversity of the experiences, I would say even the first time when we conducted Gram Sabha, organized through SDGs, we used to call it conspiracy meetings, pre-Gram Sabha conspiracies, when women discuss and decide what to talk at the Gram Sabha. And when 300 women for the first time come to a ground to attend a Gram Sabha, the Panchayat Secretary just cancelled it and went away. From there to having an active Gram Sabha where women engage with Panchayat is a huge difference. And also, women engaging for the first time in MGNREGS planning through the village employment committees in Meghalaya, which is a Scheduled 6 state, is probably another big step. So the experiences have been extremely diverse, but you cannot directly call them localizing SDGs. But many of them are. When you are talking about ALM's Anganwadi level committee, you're talking about delivery of nutrition also. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Sajid. As you said that, these appear in hindsight, on face value, they don't appear to be, localizing the SDGs, but that's how the picture emerges. So the last question, at least for this panel, and friends, there's a reason why I felt that we'll just put one question, because I think we'll have time left. And what we will try and do is that if you have a question, instead of me asking a question, I would like that you actually ask a question to our panelists. But before we come to that, the last question here for Libby, Shri Libby Johnson. Libby, in fact, as a matter of coincidence, our last, of course, you heard the last session 3, which was on this whole thing about CSR, and I want to ask you about that, the CSR donor community. Again, given your experience of the CSR donor community towards the PRI-CBO space, so what because we heard the donors, but what recommendations would you like to make to the CSR and donor community who are present here today, who shared their views in the third session?
Thank you, Anup. I've had, fortunately, the opportunity to understand, explore and study this whole PRI-CBO convergence from 2 vantage points. Initially, before Sajid came in that position in Kudumbashree, when we rolled it out. And now a very, very micro worm's eye view from a few villages in Odisha. So and in this role, I also work with the with donors and the larger community development support ecosystem. What gives me hope? I mean, today there is very little that's spoken about PRI-CBO convergence outside government, outside NRLM, outside MOPR, outside the state livelihood missions. But what gives me hope that there is huge potential is, if I go back to the 2011 program implementation guidelines of NRLM, Chapter 6 said convergence with PRIs/CBOs/NGOs. That was what NRLM put PRIs in when NRLM started. From there, to be able to talk about universalization of CBOs with PRIs from NRLM, MOPR came in much later. MORD saying this is what we want to do as NRLM, I think is a quantum leap. And if that can happen, where PRIs unfortunately got bracketed with NGOs, but somebody understood the reality, and many people in this room played critical roles in that. I think there is hope when it comes to universalizing it, not just within the government, not just within the administrative structure of the government, but beyond that. There are 5 points that I want to make in this with respect to the next steps. Us implementers in the community development, the political entities, the NGO sector, and the donors, we do not have an understanding of the program priorities when it comes to convergence. Because for us, convergence is about how much money did I mobilize, leverage from, say, government, from panchayat. Convergence is a platform. And if it's not recognized as a platform, then we have a problem. And unfortunately, these platforms are not projectizable. We cannot project it, reduce it to a project and say this is a convergence project. It doesn't work that way. That is one huge limitation that we have. As I said, this whole realm of convergence is still dependent on higher levels of government. Panchayats in most states, save a few exceptions, still depend on the block level or the district level, or in many cases the state level machinery to define convergence for them, to lay out what is the scope for working together with NGOs, with CBOs, with SDG networks. It has to come from state livelihood missions, it has to come from state departments. So we still need to evolve that first place before donors can really think of coming into a space there. Third point, continuation of that, this is a government program. We have not defined the role for other development actors. Except a handful of states in the south and some parts of the west, NGOs have a critical role in the last mile or the first mile facilitation of services. I mean, NGOs were in that space from the theory of state and market failure at one point. Panchayats have come in substantially to address the gap of state failure. State missions, state programs have. But there is still a gap, which you need a third actor to be there to play with. So convergence programs have to emerge. Now, what are the serious constraints here? One is, of course, the projectizing, the inability to projectize, and therefore not able to write a proposal for a donor, or for the donor to understand it within a limited frame of a theory of change or a log frame. We don't know how to work with panchayats. I remember in 2004, when I was in Odisha, before I went to Kudumbashree, and National Watershed Guidelines changed, something called Haryali came in, and the Sarpanch was made the project implementation agency. 20 of us trooped to meet the then minister, RD, protesting. We said, how can a Sarpanch be made a PIA? We have the right to be a PIA. How can a panchayat come and take our space? A lot of us still believe that panchayats are a threat to us. So there is a perspective issue. There is a practical understanding issue. Most of us, anyway, in the government also don't understand that the panchayat is a constitutional entity and not a service provider or a last mile implementing agency. In the government also it doesn't exist. We refuse to accept. If government is not accepting it, we also don't accept. So there is an issue with the understanding of panchayats, and where do we stand as NGOs, as donors, as the non-state actor community, where do we stand vis-a-vis panchayat? We still need to figure out. And last, I think there is need for action from donors. There has to be pilot projects. We have to overcome this difficulty of projectizing some of this. And we cannot depend on the government to tell us how to do this, or say NRLM or the Ministry of Panchayati Raj to tell us how to do this. There has to be some action that non-state actors take to show that this is the way that this could be brought together. Okay. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Libby. So I was under the impression that we could continue till 5:10, but I've just received some updated information. We have less time left. But what we'll do, sir, Professor Ramesh Chand, sir, we have 7-8 minutes left with us. I would still like, if you have a question or two, just one question, if you can introduce yourself, and please, who would you want to ask that question from? And then, sir, we would request you to kindly conclude this session. Does anybody have a question? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Was a watershed, remarkable document in terms of devolution. And 15th has continued the tradition. But do you agree with putting these conditions? For example, this morning we had the choice given by the chairpersons of 5 local governments, their priorities. 4 of them gave sanitation. Why? Because in the wisdom, the Finance Commission has ordained that this money will be spent on sanitation, this person. So their priority doesn't matter here. You are giving such a small amount of money. But then why don't you give it free? Let them decide. Let them decide what's the priority. Agriculture may be the priority. That does not be the priority of the Union Finance Commission. What is your response to that?
Sir, I entirely agree with you. The question is that, yes, if you look into the pre-14th Finance Commission scenario and post, there is a change, sir. Yes, Panchayat, if you are bearing 3-4 states, if you look into the resource repository of the financial bank of the Panchayat, virtually many states are bereft of such good things, unlike the Kerala and other states. Yes, I do entirely agree with you. This is a restrictive devolution of finance also. And I entirely agree, sir. This tied, on-tied, yes, it has. And within also the untied, you have also the sankalp or resolution taken for the thematic area. You have to spend 25% of money over there. It gives, it is no doubt having an impact on the autonomy of Panchayat. I entirely agree, sir. At a different thinking forum, we are putting it before the government. Please amend it and see that whatever the problem we had with 14th Finance Commission by giving 100% money to Gram Panchayat is being corrected by the 15th Finance Commission. So let's hope in a note, have a note of positivism, and I entirely endorse, sir. I am with you.
All right,
thank
sir.
You.
Okay, so thank you so much, and thanks for that. I wish we had more time, but nonetheless, I'll request the Honorable Member of Niti Aayog, Professor Ramesh Chandji, to kindly share his concluding remarks in brief. And if I'm not mistaken, we have a cup of tea waiting outside after this. Yes or no? Huh? Yes, right? No, all right. So anyway, over to Professor Ramesh Chand, sir.
Thank you, Anup ji. You in the beginning mentioned that Sarkar, Samaj or Bazaar, you see, they alone are not enough for Samaj. Sarkar and Bazaar alone are not enough for Bazaar. They are itself not adequate for maximizing welfare of Samaj. Therefore, you need other kind of institutions also. Like we all know that Bazaar, there are so many incidents of market failure. There are so many incidents of market becoming exploited.
Sorry, if you can have some silence, please.
Yeah, that's why you require MRTPC, Monopoly and Restrictive Trade Practice Commission kind of thing, some alternative to all those. So that's why in every society, alternative institution emerge depending upon need and circumstances. So I look at community-based organization, government floated cooperative institution, FPO, to play a role in society, in agriculture, economic activity, social activity, health, education, and all other activity which matter for the society. PRI is a elected body of the, is a body elected by people. I consider it as above or supreme among all kind of bodies which operate at rural level, different type of organizations. But there are issues with our vision of panchayats. Are we empowering and equipping panchayats the way it was envisaged in the Constitution or in the 73rd Amendment? Three serious issues. One, resources of panchayat. Second, capacity development of panchayat. And third, commitment of the state toward panchayats. 14th Finance Commission did something. 15th Finance Commission further did something more. I was member of 15th Finance Commission. We had interaction with honorable ministers sitting here also. So 15th Finance Commission made this recommendation that this much percent will go to urban local body, this much to rural local bodies, but they also do something on their part. But if you look at devolution of resources at state level, state may be attacking center that not giving us adequate money, this thing and that thing. When it comes to them for decentralization, devolution to panchayats, you just find that states are not even meeting their obligation of setting up a finance commission regularly. Then, even if they are setting up, they are not accepting or recommending most of the recommendation of state finance commissions. It is a formality which they are being, that is being done. I feel that two things need top priority for panchayat. One is adequate resources, and second is transparency in distribution of resources to panchayats. We went to, interacted with the Panchayat Raj body from all the states. So we just want to find out how the money is given to panchayat. Except one or two states, in other states, it is the MLA or MP of the ruling party who decide how much money will go to different panchayats. Not population of the panchayat, not development status of the panchayat, which ideally should decide, but should be the criteria for devolution of money further to panchayat. So I feel that panchayat are very important body. We need to make them strong, and we need to develop their capacity, and we should support them with adequate resources.
All right, sir. So on that note, thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause. Let's close the fourth session here with this message that we need to strengthen our panchayats. No doubt about that. So I'm told that we'll start the next session straight away, right? So, sir, आप लोगों को स्मृति चिन्ह देने के लिए हमारे साथी आएंगे यहाँ पे. So Solomon from Pradhan, Axis Bank से. All right, okay. Dasa.